And he definitely talked about creating a band, even as early as being 12 years old. A lot of us talked about that at the time, and so it was just kind of, you know, conversation more. But, you know, you'd think he probably was more serious about it than a lot of people gave him credit for, even at that time.
On Novoselic's part, he is a very talented bass player. But he also, I think, intuitively drove these songs. He was kind of the glue that really held the band together. Dave Grohl is just simply a tremendous drummer. In my opinion, probably one of the greatest rock drummers, certainly of modern times. He hit the drums with such a power that you wondered that they weren't going to break. And I saw a number of shows where he did break the drums.
Kurt, he had the look, he had the lyrics. You know, they had the type of sound that I think people were waiting for, that Generation X, you know. They were waiting for something like this to arrive, and certainly it did, and it blasted.
There aren't any other bands, as far as I'm concerned, that come close to what they were and what they could have been, for me, individually.
It's true that Kurt Cobain was the soul of Nirvana in terms of his songwriting and his artistic vision. But I think that all three of these individuals played a huge part in the success and creation of this band. And without Novoselic and Grohl, this would not have been the same thing.
I'll move on to the next Nirvana now. No, I'm not bored, just uninspired.
Kurt Cobain was born in Aberdeen, Washington in 1967. Situated near the coast, Aberdeen lies a world away from the bright lights of the city, surrounded by rolling mountains, never-ending forests and continual rain. The whole town is dominated by the region's one and only major industry, logging. During Kurt's childhood, the logging industry suffered enormously, the impact from which permeates every aspect of the region. But Kurt grew up a happy kid, who showed an artistic talent from an early age, as his grandfather remembers.
There's Kurt when he was a little guy. There's when he was a little bit bigger. Right from the start, he was a hell of an artist. One time he come over to the house when we lived in Aberdeen. Him and his folks come over to the house, and he had a picture, and he came up and he said, "Look at Grandpa, he had a picture of Mickey Mouse that he drew. He was 6 years old." And I said, "You didn't draw that." I said, "You traced that." He got sort of mad. He said, "Yes, I did too draw that." And he says, "I'll draw you another one." He said, "I'll draw you a Donald Duck." And he sat down then on a piece of paper and drew me a Donald Duck. I got it in here yet.
In 1976, at the age of 9, Kurt's parents divorced. Kurt moved to the nearby town of Montesano with his father, transferring to Beacon Elementary School. Here he met one of his long-lasting school friends, Darren Nevery.
When I first met Kurt, it was, I want to say like 1975. We were in the 4th grade, and he was just a new kid that came in, and he was very shy, but he did have a very good sense of humor. And you know, he loved like Saturday Night Live and, you know, all the comedy and things like that. So he was, you know, quiet and reserved at times, you know, especially in his younger years. But, you know, the more you got to know him, you know, he was a lot of fun to be around.
I don't know. I remember him as a good kid, is the way I remember him. He always helped around here when he lived with us.
He definitely had highs and lows. A lot of times he was a very happy kid, but then there was a lot of times when his mood would be down in the dumps. You know, things would come up, you know, especially if it was around, you know, say something was focused around divorce, you know, like his parents or things like that. He did have some times where, you know, certain things he was uncomfortable about, or just, you know, he'd have a hard time, be in a bad mood, like most kids, you know. But you know, he had a lot of happy times too.
Of course, Dad, when he was a little